Hello! Welcome to Batman Favorites number 5. Now, this is, of course, my on-again, off-again series of my favorite Batman issues that aren't the classic ones everybody always talks about, because that's the problem. Everybody still goes to Dark Knight Returns and Killing Joke and Arkham Asylum and Long Halloween and a few others over and over again. Not remembering that there are quite a few great Batman stories that have just fallen through the cracks. Or at the very least are popular, but people don't talk about enough. And I am picking out a whole bunch this time around, and let me get going. Let me go to Batman issue 400. Now, yeah, that sounds like a lot, but this is from '86, and this takes place during DC's transition from the pre-crisis to the post-crisis, which of course now is just unimportant. Who cares about that now, since DC has pretty much destroyed that. But there was a time when that actually mattered. This is written by Doug Moench, and there's a whole slew of artists doing chapters here, including Art Adams and Brian Bolland, each take a pass. And Joe Kubrick also does a nice piece as well. And what's going on is Ra's al Ghul decides to ensnare Batman in a lethal trap. He does something that Bane and Black Mask would do years later. He breaks everyone out of Arkham Asylum. It's like, ha ha ha, this happened first here. I know Nightfall was really good and actually kind of developed that idea, but it was first done here, where he sets them all after him. And this, by the way, has Jason Todd as Robin. And not a flashbacky thing. This is actually when he was Robin. While, Bill Sienkiewicz does a turn here. This is an excellent little story, pitting Batman in one book against all his villains all at once. Where a battle at the end in the Batcave between him and Ra's al Ghul, drawn by Brian Bolland, who doesn't really do comic work anymore except for covers. If you haven't heard of this, if you haven't, if you kind of look past it and stuff in comic bins, definitely check it out. I think it's a few bucks though. Oh, by the way, did I mention there's a introduction by Stephen King? If you haven't heard of it, Batman 400. I recommend it. Now, let's go a few years later. I can't ever do Batman favorites without talking about the team of Alan Grant and Norm Breyfogle. And this is issues 455, 456, and 457. Now, this is back when Tim Drake was just getting started. And at this point, Tim had gotten the job and been training for a little while and had not been in costume. This is the first time he jumps into the fray, literally. And the story is, well, unfortunately, well, it's about these people are just going insane all of a sudden, and the only thing that connects them is they were wearing these creepy skull masks, and they just appear out of nowhere and start killing people. Let's see, like this old woman shows up at a bus stop and starts shooting people. There's this creepy scene where this guy just shows up in the back of a crowd of people and just starts hacking them. Let me say, I just really love Norm Breyfogle's work with creepy art, and I think he's one of my favorite creepy Batman artists. There's a nightmare sequence that Tim has that he feels like he might be following in the footsteps of Bruce and Jason Todd. And Vicky Vale, by the way, is here too. This is when, post-movie, she started making more appearances in the comics. She eventually did leave again. But she's trying to get to the center of the mystery of who is behind the scary masks thing. And it goes in further into this issue, where the mystery deepens. And this is basically Tim's story, because he's trying to find his place in the Batman universe. And unfortunately, the cover to the third issue reveals who was behind it. But the end of the issue, where, see, Tim has to come to Bruce's rescue, actually. And at the end of the issue, Bruce is pretty satisfied that he can be an important part, and he is Robin. So this issue is the first appearance of the costume, the Tim Drake costume. Awesome. If you are a big Tim Drake fan and you don't have these issues, you've made a mistake. You should get them. Love it. Issues 455, 456, and 457 of Batman. Now we've gone to The Batman Adventures, issue 26, which is the cutesy comic based on the animated series that no one pays attention to because it's just kid crap. Well, guess what? It was great. I used to read quite a bit of these. And Kelly Puckett, who created the Cassandra Cain Batgirl, used to write for this. Mike Parobeck was the artist, because his art style in the early 90s wasn't popular because it was cartoonish, but guess what? It looked like the Bruce Timm style, so he got a good job for a while. I missed Mike. He actually died of diabetes, I believe it was. He was suffering from it for a while, and I miss his work because I think he was just a couple of years ahead of everybody else with this cartoonish style. Well, anyway, similar to the Tim Drake story I just mentioned, people are going nuts and just attacking. Meanwhile, Joker is starting to get a clean bill of health from this mysterious new psychiatrist, and he's come up with this plan to help him, like, with this theory of treatment of putting together a film and stuff like that. Well, of course, it's a Joker plot, and Harley Quinn's helping him out too. This is a very funny issue. One issue, nothing big spectacular. Batman Adventures, issue 28. If you like a fun Batman story, this one's good. And last but not least, Batman 575, written by Larry Hannah and drawn by Scott McDaniel. Now, Larry Hannah's brief run on Batman was very unpopular, I have to say. And you know what, to be honest, it wasn't that great. He wrote Batman like it was a bad 80s cartoon. And he pulled out a couple of plot lines that were kind of pretty typical of, you know, that kind of stuff. But guess what? I loved his first issue. It's a Die Hard-ish kind of issue, featuring a villain that made his only appearance here. He's calling himself the Banner. And he is an anti-government nut. And you know what? I'm not sure why, but, you know, superheroes could use an anti-government nut kind of character. And he's really mad at this federal building that's been built in Gotham, and he decides to blow it up. And the only two people who can stop him is Batman and Agent Leary, who's this female agent that's been put in charge of security of the place. Yeah, really cool. He's a crazy guy, and he decides to blow it up, Timothy McVeigh style. Only Batman and Leary can stop him, and it is non-stop action. After I read this, I thought, wow, Larry Hannah's going to do a great job. Well, at least this first issue was a lot of fun. Banner's never been used again, as far as I can tell. Maybe he grew up to be Glenn Beck. But I enjoyed this issue a lot. This is Batman 575. If you can find it, it's probably, you know, $1 or $2. It's probably not that expensive. All of these are great. I highly recommend them. And I think that's going to be it. And don't forget to check out my Lulu page, where you can find The Red Knight, Book 1, Night Without a Sword, or Caprice and Other Stories. They're highly entertaining as well, and they're low in sugar. Now, push the button, Lindsay.